we just got done with the initial consult, and I kind of asked some questions about the dog's daily routine and behavior. One of the things I learned is the dogs don't have any real rules, and also at least River comes and nudges the guardian with his River's boy, okay, with his nose when he wants attention. And so I consider petting a dog our way of paying a dog. This is kind of funny. One's underneath the glass panel, one's above, and the puppy is scratching. Come play with me. I can see you. Come play with me. I love watching dogs interaction and problem solving. That's kind of a little bit of what's going on right there. Okay, so getting back to the positive reinforcement. So whenever a dog kind of nudges us or tells us, they're basically telling us what to do. And so if the dog nudges at me and I pet it, then I'm validating that, yes, you can tell me what to do because you tell me what to do, and of course I adhere to it. So that gives the dog the impression that they have that they have the same authority as you, or sometimes more authority than you. And we don't have any rules because dogs go through life probing to determine where a boundary or a limit is. So if we don't have any rules, after a while, they're like, well, if there's no rules for me, I must be the rule maker. If I'm the rule maker, I have the same authority as the humans. So if I'm the same equal authority, then they can't tell me what to do. If they tell me what to do, I can listen, and if I choose to listen, then I can, or if I choose to do something else, I can, because I consider ourselves the same authority, so listening is optional. Am I a little out of focus?
No.
Okay. It might be better for me. So what I like to do is when the dog nudges at me or scratches at me, instead of petting them, I give them a counter order. I tell them to sit or to lay down. I also, another counter order could be to come, but generally if they're scratching at you, they're already here. Sitting and laying down are more subordinate positions for dogs. That body mechanic is kind of, it really tells other dogs, like, look, if I were to come and attack you, I would give you a warning sign by having to get up and run over. That gives you more warning time. So a dog won't sit or lie down if they consider something to be a threat. And so by asking them to sit, it's almost our way of saying, conditioning the dog to say please to us. Please pay attention to me. So they sit down. So as soon as they sit down, I like to pet them under their chin. Now, when a dog is proud about what it's done, if this is the dog's nose and this is the eye and the head, when they feel proud about themselves, their nose is parallel to the ground or tilted up. You might have seen one of the dogs with something they're not allowed to have or a special toy walking around the house with their nose. That means they feel really good about themselves. I want them to feel good about what I call desired behaviors, like sitting or laying down. So if the dog, James Brown. Let's see if we can motivate. Come here. Come on up. Come on. All right, let's do it this way. I'll just do it for you. All right, so what I like to do is start out in front of the dog's nose, because from a dog's perspective, it looks like I have something in my hand. This might work a little bit better. So that causes the dog to go up, and then I scratch them under their chin. See if I can do it here. Sit. Now, I don't say good sit. I don't say, oh, Brown, what a good sit. A lot of people talk way too much to their dogs. So the word now talking to our dogs is fine. If you have a bad day and you come home from the set and just everything was a disaster and you're just like, oh my God, and you want to vent to your dog, that's healthy. And that's part of the reason we have dogs. But if I want to condition them to do something, or in this case, petting with a purpose, I tell them to sit, and I immediately start saying sit while I scratch them under their chin. Now, I used to tell my clients you have a window of about 3 seconds for them to connect whatever they just did with the reward. It actually, I do a lot of reading and research, and the behaviors that I was just researching was talking about like a third of a second. So as soon as the butt hits the ground, you want to be petting them immediately and saying the command word. This is not only for sitting, but also for your potty, which we'll talk off camera probably about, or in a different video. So as soon as the dog sits, I reach under and I say the word sit, and I scratch them under their chin. So after a while, what will happen is the dogs, instead of coming nudging you, because you stop petting them when you don't pet them when they nudge you. And really, what I try to do is refrain from petting them at all unless they do something for you first, because asking them to sit or lie down is not asking a lot. The more they do this, just like they have the same kind of physiological thing that happens with humans, where the more we do something, it could, basically the what is it called? The neural pathway gets covered in something called a myelin sheath. This is why the more that we practice something, the better and the faster at it we get. Same principle applies to dogs. So if we ask the dog to sit before we pet them, we're introducing a concept. You have to ask the human for something first, and you don't always get what you want. It puts them in a more subordinate position, And then it also helps them later on when they're agitated or they see another dog and you ask them to sit, that muscle memory kicks in. It's a lot easier for them to sit.
Yeah.
So what'll happen is eventually the dog's going to come over and start sitting in front of you instead of jumping up on you as their way of asking for attention. And when they do that, we want to start petting them whenever possible. Now, sometimes you can't do it. We're not going to pet them all the time. But as soon as they sit, even when we didn't ask them, we reach over and pet them under their chin and we say sit. I call this passive training. So if your dog doesn't know how to lay down, if every time it comes and lays down at your feet, you reach over and pet it and say crash or whatever the command word is, after a while they hear crash, they lay down because they expect to get that massage that they normally get. Petting with a purpose is probably the easiest thing that you can do that will have the biggest impact on your dogs in terms of return on investment. If you get into that hand motion like I just showed you, so I start out right in front of the dog's nose and I go rock it up over their head, but try to keep it within an inch or two. And as their head tracks up, that puts their butt down. As soon as their butt's down, then I reach under and scratch them under their chin. So after a while, you can be having a conversation with your boyfriend or a coworker or a friend, and the dog comes over and you just kind of go like this and then pet, and you don't even break your conversation you're having basically two conversations. If you get in a habit of doing it, it's like a mini dog training session that you'll do dozens, if not hundreds of times a day, unintentionally. We won't even think about it. But every time you do, you help the dog develop more respect for you as an authority figure. So that is how I teach petting with a purpose.